A lot of my friends here in Washington, D.C., Gen Xers like myself, and millennials, they're all talking about one book. It's called Manhood, The Masculine Virtues America Needs, and it's written by Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, who joins us now. And I kid you not, Senator, a lot of guys are talking about this book, and they wish they had it about 20 years ago.
Well, that's nice of you to say. Thank you for having me on. I wrote this book because I've got two little boys at home who are now 10 and 8. And as a dad, thinking about the influences on their life, thinking about what they're hearing from the left, what they're hearing from the entertainment industry, I just said to myself, I need to do something as a dad to help give them a vision of what strong, godly, masculine leadership looks like. And that's really what the book's about.
So let's walk through how we got here from there, because you sort of lay it out in this book, but then you also give solutions, which we really appreciate here. We're sick of conservatives just complaining about what's going on. How do we fix it? How do we move forward? But I remember Christina Hoff Sommers, renowned anti-feminist of the 80s and 90s. She wrote the book called The War on Boys. And I think that was sort of the canary in the coal mine. It's sort of what she pointed out about the war on boys in public schools, popular culture. It has led to this generation of men not really knowing how to be a man.
Yeah, it really has led to the left's war on men. And what the message to men is that the left sends is that men are inherently toxic. That's what they tell our kids from the time they go to kindergarten, that to be a man is to be toxic. To be a man is to make the world a worse place. And so what they tell boys is, don't be a boy, be passive, don't be aggressive, don't be ambitious. Don't go out there and rough and tumble. No, be passive. They tell young men, go down to your parents' basement, turn on a screen, entertain yourself, order some stuff, and be an androgynous consumer. Don't rock the boat. And then are we surprised that so many young men feel totally at sea? I was a teacher for a while. I write about the young men that I taught. I write about the questions that they were asking, the struggles they were having. And many of them, it's like, what am I supposed to do with my life? I don't know what I'm here to do. I don't know what I should be about. That is an entire generation of young men now who've been totally befuddled by the left and the indoctrination of the left. And we've got to tell those young men, you're needed, your responsibility is powerful, you can change your life and you can change this nation.
That's Senator Hawley. I mean, the whole idea of toxic masculinity, it's like you can't even say the word masculinity without the toxic modifier before it. Masculinity, though, doesn't mean brutish behavior. It doesn't have to mean brutish behavior or aggressive behavior or that sort of thing. I think that there's some misnomer that people are accusing you of supporting ungentlemanly behavior, and it's quite the opposite. Being a man means being a gentleman and being restrained.
Yeah, it means being a person of character. I mean, the book is all about the journey of character. I say in the book that to be a man is to acquire the character traits, the virtues, if you even use the old-fashioned word, the virtues that make us true men, the virtues of a husband and a father and a builder and a warrior. And I tell stories about men who exemplify each of these different character traits. So, really to grow into strong male leadership, to be a good, strong man, is to become a man of character. And we need to give that vision, I think, to our young men, especially in this country, and tell them that shaping their character, forming their souls, taking on responsibility will allow them to transform their lives for the better and to transform for the better the lives of everybody around them.
Your first chapter talks about sort of your pre-political life and as you mentioned, when you were a teacher, but it's titled In the Beginning. And I don't think that's an accident. The Judeo-Christian virtues that we learn in Christianity, in Judaism, everything that's in Scripture, it really is about sort of harnessing men's worst demons, literally demons, and channeling it in a positive and productive way for civilization, what we used to admirably refer to as Western civilization. Do you think the secularization of our country has coincided with this war on manhood?
Totally, 100%. The modern left is basically atheistic. Their message to men is there's no purpose in the world, there's no such thing as God, there's no eternity, the world is a meaningless place, and the best thing you can do with your life is just try to keep yourself entertained. I mean, that is their message. And is it any wonder, again, that men feel depressed by this and totally at sea because of it? We need to tell a better story, and this is one of the reasons I go back to the Bible in the book and tell stories from the Bible, that actually the Bible has been very foundational for Western civilization, to put it mildly. It has been totally foundational for American history. And what the traditions of the Bible say is, actually, no, the universe has purpose to it. Men have purpose. your life is meant for something and that you can leave a legacy that will last and that will matter if you will accept responsibility and serve other people with your life.
Now, it's one thing for a cultural observer, a pundit, or maybe somebody from the arts world to write a book like this. You're a United States Senator. You're a lawmaker. So it's impossible not to ask, how do these virtues find their way into legislation or government? Or let me ask it another way. Has our government over the last several decades actively worked against the virtues that you extol here?
100%. Absolutely. Our policy has been a disaster when it comes to, let's just take an example, when it comes to husbands. We have a policy in our tax code that actively discourages marriage. We have policy when it comes to our welfare programs, including, by the way, our welfare programs for men, where we encourage able-bodied men not to go out and work, to provide for their family, to provide for the women they love and for their children. We've had economic policies that have sent 4 million blue-collar jobs, largely staffed by men, to China. 60,000 have been lost in my home state of Missouri. So yes, for decades now, we've had a bunch of frankly stupid policies that have been embraced, frankly, by the establishment of both parties that have been disastrous for the traditional family, disastrous for men and working class men in particular. We've got to reverse those. We need to say we need more men working. We need good paying blue collar jobs in this country that you can raise a family on. We need to produce stuff in this country again. Who will benefit from that? Families, communities, neighborhoods, men.
So do you think that this also is manifest in the horrific numbers we're seeing with recruitment in our military? You know, the United States military. By the way, this isn't to say, my daughter just became an officer in the Navy this past weekend. So women have a very important role in the military, and I don't want this to be interpreted otherwise. But the military, the United States military in particular, used to be a place where men could go and really be the best they could be, if I could say. And clearly there's a problem recruiting in the United States military. What do you think the issue is there?
Well, I think it's because the military, DOD, the Pentagon, the brass, has bought into the left's culture war. You know, and they're trying to bring the culture war to the United States military, and no surprise, service members don't want anything to do with it, men or women. You know, I mean, do you think women want to see a man pretending to be a woman as a recruiter? I mean, drag queens now as recruiters in the United States military. You mentioned your daughter, my sister, lieutenant commander in the United States Navy, and incredibly proud of her. But, you know, I mean, do you think that women want to see this either? Of course not. Right. I mean, what you have from the left is a war on manhood and a war on womanhood. You have them telling men they're toxic. They have them telling women that they don't exist, that a biological man can be a woman if he decides he wants to be that day. And to have the Pentagon embrace this and promote it, and also promote the rest of their woke agenda, whether it's critical race theory or anything else. I mean, then they wonder why their recruiting numbers are off. I mean, any enlisted man or woman will tell you why the recruiting numbers are so bad. They want to serve the country. They want to fight for this country. They don't want to be re-educated into left-wing indoctrination, and that's what's happening.
You also spend a little bit of time here chastising sort of this caricature of men in American society and American culture, that for some reason men think that they're being a man if they're picking fights and they're bedding as many women as they can and just sort of acting like animals. That's not what you're talking about here. I'd love for you to address that a little bit about how a real man stands up to the men who make us look bad.
Yeah, you know, I used in the book the example of Andrew Tate, the social media influencer who was recently charged with human trafficking. And listen, I think that there is a reaction in some quarters to the left's toxic masculinity agenda, where you've got some people who say, oh yeah, you know what, that's essentially right. Men are toxic and we're proud of it. You know, so we'll be toxic and we'll flaunt it. And we'll be as disgusting and as overbearing as we possibly can. That is not, I think, the truth at all. That's to buy into the left's lie. The truth is that to be a strong man is to be a good man. To be a real man is to be someone who serves and sacrifices for others. And if you could sum up, in my view, the whole ethic of what it means to be a man, it means to live sacrificially for other people. And the book really is me telling one story after another from the Bible, from American history, from my own life, men I knew, who lived in that sacrificial sacrificial way and left a legacy.
Senator and author Josh Hawley, the book is Manhood, The Masculine Virtues America Needs. And I could tell you how great it is, but I'll just tell you this. The Washington Post and David French hate it, so there you go. Buy it right now. More to come on O'Connor Tonight.